Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! ISB.
Yes.
43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it up, got it! And Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hey, kids, how's it going on this beautiful Friday? Welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Looking forward to another great Friday edition. Bob Kravitz will be joining us from bobkravitz.com. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star, and Stephen Bardo, of course, from Big Ten Network and beyond. Plenty to get to. We'll also be hearing from Liam McNeely and Derek Queen as the Montverde Invitational, and it is Montverde. We will have that conversation. Got underway last night. Asa Newell, Cooper Flagg, saw them all go at it. And that first game, the game for Montverde last night, I will tell you, it was the absolute worst beatdown I have ever witnessed in basketball that I can remember at any level. I wish I had my notes that I had. I've got an email I can look at it, but the scoring differential, unbelievable. Pacers, big win. We'll talk about that as well. Huge win over Philly last night. I was supposed to be at that game, but I couldn't obviously be there and here where I am in Montverde covering the Montverde Invitational. Was able to talk to Liam and Derek both last night. Plan on doing that again tonight after tonight's game. Checking in with them, and if you've got questions, put them up today. Maybe I'll work those into tonight after the game. Did I talk about John Boy? And I know you're probably busy, but I'm trying to remember. I think I mentioned Trent Sisley's upcoming visit to Purdue.
We did. We mentioned that briefly yesterday.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people respond to that. It's going to happen sometimes. When would you not do it? I mean, that's if I were Purdue, that's when I'd do it. Welcome aboard, everybody, to the Andy Moore Honda Hotline. Appreciate you, as always, for being along for the ride. Fred, John from Cincinnati, listening to us on WKRP in Cincinnati. That's a joke that John's not going to get, and most of the
that one I actually am a little more familiar with, just because working in radio, I feel like you hear WKRP jokes more than the average human being.
WKRP in Cincinnati. That's how. Oh, I love that show. That was hilarious. Yeah, that was a great one. Mr. Nessman, I need my Band-Aid on. If you're familiar with Zach Galifianakis and Between Two Ferns, I thought today I would do Jim Galifianakis between two cacti. Dun.
I say, I wish we had a rim shot for that one.
I needed it, but again, another beautiful backdrop. Thanks to Shane and Vivian, and just lovely outside today. I know that probably not. What is it like up north?
It's been raining all week long. I know you were here earlier in the week, so you probably got some of the rain, but since Tuesday, it's been nothing but a downpour and a lot of fog.
Wow. A little unusual in winter, but what weather isn't? So what else happened? Oh yeah, that Pacers win last night. That's big. You beat Philly, man. You slayed the giant, or one of the giants. And remember, the Pacers still, they're not into form yet. Pascal Siakam, led the way last night, though. We had another court storming as Arizona goes down again. This time, Oregon State fans storm the court. I was never against court storming, and I'm still not, but there's just no way it's not. And everyone will say, well, how are you going to stop it? They'll come up with a way, and it will be less, and it's going to make the games less fun for all of us. If they end up having to bring in those damn barriers you see on the interstate and lay down something, but they will put an end to it. I'm assuming at some point, because it's also, you can't just do it all the time just because you beat somebody good. It's kind of losing its cachet, as one would say. Women's #1 team almost went down, but man, oh man, South Carolina holds on to a match with LSU last night. But the Dawn Staley had the line of the night in a post-game press conference. Someone mentioned the fact that talk about the crowd and they weren't very welcoming. And as she continued to talk, Dawn Staley broke in and said, "Oh no, I disagree. They were being very welcoming. They were calling me boo all night." Another rim shot, please, John.
It's much less effective when it's a human rim shot.
Well, what are you going to do?
That was a good one, though, by Dawn Staley.
Oh, I thought that was pretty damn funny. That's just right on. I mean, that's quick thinking. Las Vegas Larry, how are you, sir? Donald down in Atlanta. He's a Highlander. He's a Southern Indiana boy. Down in Atlanta. Mike Shenanigans. Oh boy, there you go. There's a nickname for you. Mike Shenanigans. We got any Friday shenanigans, Mike? He says, happy no fog Friday morning from Southern Wabash County. Forrest on with us down here in Southern Georgia. Jamie on from Grand Rapids. How are you, sir? I hope you're having a great start to your day. Derek down in Owensboro. John in Southport. Mark says, thanks for the the ISB t-shirt that came in the mail yesterday. Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate you. As a matter of fact, it's not set up on the intranet, as the kids call it, yet, but we do have ISB t-shirts for sale, hats for people, for those that wish. I think it's $20 or $25 for the shirt. I can't remember what to give with Pete's on that. That's Pete's department. Robert says it's gray, gloomy, probably 40. Hey, you should take that all day long, man, if it's winter, depending on where you are, of course. And Tana's pointing out it is not hot. Oh, not inside the building. Nope. They had to release me. They had to release the hounds. Eric jumping on. New name. Hey, how are you, brother? Appreciate it. Like to have you. Great having you. Mr. Shenanigans, love the KRP in Cincinnati reference. All-time great. I'm going to make sure I hit everybody. Kevin on from Jeffersonville. How are you today, sir, as well? Just want to make sure. Hey, 5 Lefts on as well. As hope you're having a great start to your day, sir. So there you go. Games coming up this weekend, of course. Indiana with a monster game of importance as they travel to Champaign to take on the Fighting Illini, who they're trying to stay in the Big Ten, the Big Ten regular season race. They don't have problems with making the tournament or anything like that. They're trying to stay in the Big Ten race with Wisconsin, along with Purdue, of course. Wisconsin riding along with one loss. And, of course, being it's the Big Ten, that lone loss came at Penn State. Crazy, but true. I wouldn't tell you a fib. It's absolutely the truth. Did you get to watch any games last night, John Boy? I love to mess with him when he's
last night I didn't catch any games. I did lose another parlay bet, though, which was unfortunate. I was
Who was the killer out of 3? Who killed you?
Eastern Kentucky killed me. I took I took their opponent to cover, which was Jacksonville at plus 11.5. But my other two bets, I had WKU covering against FIU. They took care of business.
Was that? Did you say WKRP in Cincinnati?
Pretty close, WKU. And then I also had, who was my first game? I'm blanking on who my other matchup was that I took, but either way, I haven't hit a parlay in a while. I'm pretty cold when it comes to betting. But this weekend, I do have one more parlay in the work. Not even really in the works. I have it set. And it's not even college basketball related. It's for the NFL. And it's just 2 money line bets. I've got the Ravens beating the Chiefs, and I've got the Lions beating the 49ers.
Yeah, I don't even know how long it's been since I placed just a single bet. I'm not. If I'm winning, I'll keep going. If I start losing, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm out.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I am. My DK account is pretty close to being empty. I've withdrawn some of my winnings, so I haven't come up empty. But what I've left inside the account, my last hope is this weekend with my money line parlay for the NFL.
Hold it on to it, man. But they're eventually going to get it back. They always do. Some Big Ten games coming up this weekend. Of course, Indiana, as I said, traveling to number 10, Illinois. That is a 3 p.m. contest, and it'll be on Fox. So no Peacock. Other Big Ten games on the docket. Nebraska travels to Maryland. Should be a good game. Maryland with 2 road wins now in the Big Ten, as they sit at 12-8. But those 2 road wins, huge for their resume. Iowa goes to Michigan, of course. Iowa desperately needs to win this game. Michigan is at the lower end of the bracket. They just got beat at home by Maryland, who has not had great occasion to win on the road. Minnesota at Penn State, battle of the bottom there as 12-7 Minnesota. I shouldn't really say that. Minnesota is probably very on par with Indiana, to be honest with you. Record's very close. I'd have to look at Minnesota's schedule to see what their best win is. But that contest is 6:30 on the BTN. And then also on the BTN, 2 hours after that, the Buckeyes. This would be a good game. Travel to Evanston, Illinois to take on Northwestern. Northwestern 14-5 right now. Ohio State 13-6. They need to bump that resume up. So it's tough going, tough sledding in the Big Ten, but those are just some of the games that are coming up tomorrow. In addition to that, I've got the Montverde Invitational last night. Boy, I mentioned earlier, I had not seen a beatdown like that. Where is my the email that I sent to myself so I'd have these notes? Just the scoring differential was pretty crazy. I mean, even knowing how good Montverde is, these are teams that are not exactly bad that are down here for this. Montverde played Imani Christian from Pittsburgh last night, and here we go. And just some notes as they took on Imani Christian in the first round. First quarter, Liam McNeely had 8 points. Nice first quarter. 42-13 was the end of that at the end of that score. And then I'll pick this up on the other side with the man, Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com. If you didn't know that by now, where have you been? But hey, lots more coming up with the man himself, and I'll let him tell you. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East, located over off of College Ball Road in Bloomington. Go see Benny and the boys. Get the Jimbo special. I'm telling you, man, it is the best pizza that there is. Tell them I said so. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
All right. I'll be right back, guys.
Good morning.
Yeah, so you say.
Yeah, where are you?
I am in Montverde, Florida.
You going down to see McNeely and all those guys?
Well, I was there last night. Yeah, for their first game. And I was going to reiterate these numbers when we came back, but just to give you a heads up, after the first quarter, McNeely had 8 points, but it was 42-13.
Wow.
Halftime. It sounds like a bad girls. This score is like a good girls team playing some small Christian 1A school.
Yeah.
It was 53-15 with 5:09 to go in the second quarter.
Well, I should have taken the over.
Maybe halftime 70-23.
Wow.
With 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, it was 80-24. And I was sitting up next to a woman. I was not sitting down on press row for this game last night. And so I was up in an area that someone had taken me up to, and a lot of the Montverde people there. I was talking to one of their teachers, and I remember leaning into her and I said, "Have you ever seen anybody score 100 points in 3 quarters?" She goes, "Oh, I've seen them score 100." I said, "No, in 3 quarters." She goes, "Oh, no. That's never happened." And I kind of said, I kept nudging her every about 30 seconds. I'd just nudge her. And at the end of the third quarter, 104-29.
Holy shit. How'd McNeely look?
Good. Just, he actually looks extraordinarily comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a rush, not forcing stuff, just out there. He hit some threes. They move the ball so damn fast too, man. Montverde. I mean,
they got all the best players. They should.
Well, and funny thing is, there's a kid that I saw. I ended up sending a text to Dusty May saying, "Dude, I'm no scout. I don't pretend to be." I said, "But you might want to look at this dude."
Okay.
6'6" kid from Brazil is rides the bench, gets to come in at
10
in
seconds,
second half.
I'll
pick it up.
Okay.
A part of the Wild Food Group is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by the Chop Shop, home of the Indiana football and men's basketball coaches shows. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Friday. It's a Bob Kravitz Friday, brought to you by bobkravitz.com and the Chop Shop, of course, where each and every Monday night you can find Inside Indiana Basketball. Don Fisher alongside Coach Mike Woodson. So stop in. They've got some great specials now. They had a steak and shrimp special the other night, and it was delish. Mr. Robert Kravitz, how are you, sir?
I'm splendid. How are you? You look warm.
Warm enough.
Warmer than we are
warm
here.
Enough. yeah, warm enough, I will take it and enjoy it very much. So we were talking a little bit in the break. I'm down in Montverde, Florida, watching the Montverde Invitational with Liam McNeely, Derek Queen, and Caden Allen, who played a lot of minutes last night. He's just a sophomore for them. But the one thing I did notice, he got to play a lot in the second half because it was a blowout. He was going more for highlights. And the reason that stuck out is because there was another kid that's on Montverde's roster that apparently never gets to play and lit them all up and ended up being the leading scorer for the game, scoring 22 points in the second half. And I just watched him and I'm like, he looked just like some kid that came off of a nice rural Indiana basketball team.
Mhm.
He's 6'6". He shot 3-pointers. He had several great dunks, rebounds, blocks, 4 steals.
I don't
but
think
he
you've
was just-
mentioned his name yet, Jim.
Well, I understand that. That's because as I am quickly sifting through my program to get back over to Montverde's lineup, I'm not used to who he is, and I'm still looking for it.
Oh,
So,
okay.
He's Brazilian. Does that help?
Okay. Now, does Woodson know about this kid? Can he play guard?
Well, you know what? Indiana, the first thing I said was, that's not the kind of kid Indiana would recruit.
What, he can shoot?
He was doing a little bit of everything. Shooting the ball. I saw him shoot from range, handle the ball wisely, not turn the ball over. He busted his ass. That's the first thing that stood out, start to finish. Even though this was mop-up time, you hear the phrase, when you get your opportunity, you have to make the most of it.
Right.
This kid got his opportunity and made the most of it. He
Well,
was
why
playing ball.
Why wouldn't he be an IU type player? Because he's good?
Oh, I didn't say he wasn't an IU type player. I just said this is not a kid IU would recruit.
Why wouldn't they recruit him?
Same reason they didn't recruit Braden Smith or Fletcher Lawyer, or they recruited Fletcher, I guess, a little bit, but same reason they've not looked at several other guys. He's not a guy that stands out. This kid doesn't even have an offer.
Wow. Well,
I think part of that has to do with you when you play on a team that has the starting lineup for the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
You don't even hardly get to play. And then so this kid comes off the bench and boom. So that's the kind of talent that you have to deal with day in, day out if you're on a team like that.
That's pretty cool. You're down there, man. That's a pretty good assignment.
Yeah. The boss made me go, so I couldn't refuse
Who's the boss?
directive.
You?
That would be me.
That'd be you.
That would be me.
The boss just said, go down to Florida in the dead of winter and watch some basketball.
I honestly did not make this decision until midweek, maybe late Tuesday night. So then Wednesday, I'm frazzled trying to make all the arrangements, this, that, and the other thing, but well worth it. I haven't been down here for 2 years and been wanting to get down, but it's great to get to see these guys. I got to see Asa Newell play. Curtis Givens is on the roster along with number one of the top players in the country, Mr. Flagg. There he is, number 32.
Right.
And I saw why he is what he is. And it's so funny how some things become immediately apparent.
Right.
This guy has got length for days. Number one, I saw him shoot the purest 3-point shot of the night that just ripped through the nets. It did not touch anything. It was perfectly if you took a micrometer up and measured, I think it would be equal parts around the rim as how it went in. It was just so it was good look. I'm like, that's not fair. That's not fair,
he
man.
said it to Duke, right?
Yeah, he's headed
Yeah,
to Duke.
They need more talent.
Yeah, they're poor. They're poor. And of course, Asa Newell heading to Georgia. Well, what did he get for Georgia? That has not exactly been killing it, in the basketball in the last few years, but they get the hometown kid who this dude stands out as well, Asa Newell. Then you've got Curtis Gibbons, who is going to LSU, and Robert Wright, who's going to Baylor. So I talked about Lucas Lima is the kid that I was telling you about, but you're behind a guy that's going to Baylor, another guy that's going to LSU, another guy that's going to Georgia, another guy that's going to Indiana, another guy that's going to Duke. And those are just the ones that I think are committed.
5.
Yeah. So you don't see the court much.
Yeah.
And did you know Cooper Flagg has a twin brother?
No, I didn't know that. Can he play?
He's on the team. As soon as it came out, even though I was sitting up high, I'm like, oh, how tall is he? Because I could tell they weren't the same height.
Right.
And his brother's 6'7", so
okay.
he got ripped off on that a little bit. But
tell me what you thought of McNeely.
I think he is a very solid player. One that doesn't seem to get rattled. Has a very nice stroke, and having played in this system, he's used to it. He's used to the noise. Talked to him, spoke with him afterwards, and asked that we'll hear from him in a little while. But he's fired up about coming to Bloomington and getting to Bloomington and making it happen. I will say that when I have not posted those onto the ISB YouTube site yet, because there's a story out on the Hoosier.com with those. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of, oh boy, I hesitate to say it, but it's not like you can't hear it. When I'm talking to Liam McNeely, you're trying to come up with different questions because you're pressed for time and you're trying to squeeze it in. And I asked him, I said, well, have you watched the games? And if you do you see and look at that, hey, this is how I could fit in. This is where I could help.
Sure.
And I asked him, if you seen maybe where your game could help, and off to the side, right before he answers, you hear someone say something that answers the question. And I'll leave that at that.
All right.
And who that was, that other person that might have been in the room, since I talked to them immediately afterwards.
That's funny.
Yeah, I heard that and I was like, oh man, that's something.
My only concern is he's not a guard. They need guards like I need to lose 30 pounds.
Yeah, and that's a huge recruiting issue, because who are they in on right now? There's no one that I'm aware of. Of course, that doesn't mean jack. There's plenty I don't know.
Right.
But normally you hear about the recruiting trail and, oh man, these guys they're hot onto him and yada yada. It's going to be it almost has to be a portal, Phil.
Portal, yeah.
Because you have to have the experience.
Yeah, I mean, right now what they've got just ain't good enough, and this Illinois game to me is so crucial, so crucial. I mean, they need a quality road victory in the worst way, and I don't see how it's going to happen. But having said that, Woody's teams have made late season comebacks in his first 2 years. I mean, they've improved, and they've made a run at the NCAA tournament. So we'll see if it happens again. But I'm not counting on it, Jim.
I had on Tyler Smith from the Hoosier.com yesterday, and he had just did a piece with a bracketologist and how they were talking about this and that. And I'm like, man, you could run it 6 ways from Sunday, and I don't need bracketology now. I don't need any of the data. It's evident. Some things are just evident.
Yeah, they ain't close.
My ignorance, boy, no one needs to tell you that I'm a jackass. It's evident. It's self-evident. But yeah, they would have to finish the season 9-3.
Yeah. Oh, I know. They got no chance. They got. I mean, the bet has been made.
Love that.
The bet has been made, and yeah, it's a little late now unless something amazing happens. They need Xavier to to find himself, and I just don't see that happening.
Oh man, I love that, and that comes directly from a Mike Woodson quote.
Right. He's soul searching.
And yes, soul searching, trying to find. I'm like, boy, you say some funny things, but that one's right up in there. That's just he's just like lobbing the softballs up there for Twitter.
Yeah,
on that one. But I wonder if you have to wonder where's Xavier's head, because he's no dummy. He knows that. I mean, he would never say this, and maybe he doesn't think it, but boy, this season seems all but lost.
yeah.
And he came back, for that 6th year, another injury. Now all the other things that have gone on top of that, you have to wonder where he is in his head, and how his approach to the remainder of the season is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it wouldn't. If he had walked, it wouldn't surprise me, because he just seems like he's like, if he just said, "The hell with it, I'm done. I'm done with basketball. I'm going to concentrate on whatever studies I've got going on." He just seems so not depressed, but just lost,
disinterested,
lost, and just his mind isn't there. And even in the best of times, you wondered where his head was. But yeah, now it's a bad situation. I feel a little bad for the kid, but boy, he does some stupid stuff.
Yeah, but he's not alone this season, unfortunately.
No,
and,
not at all.
This team has paid the price. Our friend Rick Bozich also had a piece out on it, and talking about some things that we've all said all year. Poor roster construction. This team was, it was not set up for success. When you're right back to doing what you said you weren't going to do last year because you were almost forced to do it, when you have an All-American in the middle, of course your things are going to run through the middle, but they're running the exact same offense, just with different guys in different positions.
Well, I mean, they got the same general strengths as they had last year. I mean, what bothers me, or at least confuses me, is how they didn't bring in more guards. I mean, did portal guys decide, well, they got Galloway and they got Johnson, so there's no room for me? I don't really understand how they could be caught with their pants down, in terms of guard play. I mean, you had to know that Xavier was coming back from an injury, and you didn't know what his situation was going to be. So yeah, that confuses me significantly.
Yeah, and it has a lot. I don't know that it's that they didn't know it. It's was a failure. I mean, everyone, we keep talking about Dalton Connect, and they could not connect.
Got it.
All right. But he's lighting it up down in Tennessee. What your latest piece out?
I just wrote about Siakam and his debut. I'll have a piece later today This interests me, maybe not you, but I'm a mentor at Ball State on Mondays with
I love
the school,
mentors.
with the school newspaper and their sports department. And there's a lot of let's say controversy now about whether it's a good idea to push kids into journalism when the business is dying. So I'm writing about that. I got a column about why Bill Belichick can't find a damn job. He's only won 6 championships and he can't find a job because suddenly he's too old or something.
I was shocked at the normally almost every team, they got to go through the Rooney Rule and all that stuff, but they kind of have their guy already virtually all the time. And then like the Falcons are interviewing 2 different people. They're going back for second. I'm like, really? It's
Can you
usually
see
more
the
like the Chargers than Jim Harbaugh.
Right. But can you see the Falcons looking at his resume and going, yeah, I don't know. There's some holes in this resume. I don't know. I don't know if this is what we, the Atlanta Falcons, winners of 0 Super Bowls, I don't know if we could possibly benefit from a man who's gone to 9 Super Bowls and won 6 of them. That's
especially one that spotted us a 28-point
28
lead in one of those
beat our ass.
in one of those Super Bowls. So yeah, Arthur Blank, maybe who knows? But the Pacers, what a gigantic win. I don't know at what point the surprise is going to stop, but that's huge. You've got Siakam, of course, but still fresh over, new on to the team, still dealing with the Tyrese Halliburton.
Right.
But man, getting a big win over Philly, 134-122. They continue to solidify stuff.
Well, they need to win as much as they possibly can because they're in an Eastern Conference where teams 4 through 8 are all within about a game or 2. And this team absolutely needs to avoid the play-in scenario. I thought the guy, Siakam was great last night. He had a triple-double. That was pretty self-evident. But the guy who I thought played a terrific game was Miles Turner. He held Embiid a couple of points under his season average of 36 points per game, which is just absurd. And he played well offensively. I mean, Pacers are just a damn good, exciting, fun team. And when they get Siakam and Halliburton back together again on the court at the same time, they're going to be a dynamic outfit.
Absolutely. What is coming up new and next for you? You just talked about a piece on Pascal Siakam. And then, of course, I know that there are other things down the pipe coming here soon before we talk again.
Yes. Like I said, I'm interested in sometimes I write about non-sports. And so I'm writing about all this controversy of, how whether to try and guide kids into sports journalism when the business is just dying all around us. I got a piece on Belichick.
I'm dying here.
Piece on Belichick. I'll have some IU stuff next week. So staying busy.
That sounds like it, brother. Good deal. Looking forward to seeing you soon. And as always, it is a pleasure.
Stay warm, my man.
I'm doing it. The great Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com. Make sure you're giving him a follow and be a subscriber. You got to keep local journalism alive, as we just talked about. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Chop Shop Market and Table in Bloomington. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for a home,
Is Indiana play Saturday or Sunday this weekend?
Saturday.
Nice.
Sábados. Sábados. Iota y tres.
I tell you what, I saw they announced the spring game date yesterday, and if it's nice weather that weekend, I may try to make it up to Bloomington just to see what the hell Kurt Signetti's up to with this Indiana football team this April.
Well, that would be fun.
And maybe
Are you
Mitchell will be
gonna
up there too. Have you talked to Mitchell since he's been back in Indiana?
Yeah, we chatted a little bit, but I was going to say, when you come in, man, I wish you would start staying up here. When you come in, are you going to ask Signetti? I want to get up here. Are you going to tell him, hey, I'm here to see what you're up to up here?
That'd be pretty funny, wouldn't it?
I would love that.
Say, I'm here to find out why everybody's so sigged up for Indiana football.
Sigged up. Boy, it's
I've tried using that hashtag just for fun, and it's not caught on at
all. No takers. I love the between two cacti. Shane will get a kick out of that.
And I tell you what, I don't know how the whole Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan is going to affect their team at all, but I mean that can only benefit Indiana in the short term for next season.
See the lovely new benches back here between one of the cacti.
Oh yeah,
Shane
did not like in a botanical
Shangri-La.
garden.
Exactly, but Shane was not upset. He was like, "Oh no, that's not good enough." And so last night he was telling me he came in and just redid that whole section after knowing that the show was on video as well. And I'm like, dude, I thought it was great. What are you talking about? It was the funny thing is I told him, I said, I'm sitting there staring at it the whole time thinking, I cannot wait to take a picture of that and send it to a friend of mine. But he's a very crafty dude, and he had just taken some pallets. Everyone knows what a pallet is, and basically just cut them in half, 2 of them. So, and then you just took those and folded into a bench.
All right, here we go. Just a few seconds.
APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Appreciate each and every one of you being along with us. I always want to make sure I try to catch any new comments. Brian's, watch out for the Gators. Well, no joke. Montverde, there is a lake that's right back here that Montverde has access to, uses, I think, that's on part of their or all of their campus. But the other side, there is a big lake, Lake Apopka, that you look on the map and it's like that big. You can see it. But Shane was telling me, he goes, as big as it is, and it's pretty big, the deepest, it's like 6-7 feet or something. He goes, and filled with gators. I'm like, I'm out. That's the one thing when you come to places like this. I'm an adventurer. I just wander around, whatever. Things like that, though, the snakes and such, that you're like, whoo, got to keep all that in mind. Yeah. Don't like it. Don't like it a bit. Mike Woodson met with the media. That was yesterday. So you can go to Indiana Sports Beat Radio for the full takedown on that, as the full Q&A session is up for you, and along with the transcript. First question he was asked is, was there an update on Khalil Ware's status? And even if there was, I don't know how much he would have given that, but he's going to be a game time decision. He'll be, like I said yesterday, he'll be on the questionable sheet for Indiana's availability report. But man, even with Khalil Ware, if he's not a healthy Khalil Ware, that is going to be a tough row to hoe for Indiana. Lake Florence. Thank you, Mr. Shenanigans. Mike, for that history. I appreciate that. Oh my God. See, you had to say that. Pygmy rattlesnakes are an issue. Great. Just what I needed. Little pygmies so you can't see them. Little bitty suckers. Yep. Nope. No walking along ponds for me. Michael says Hardball may be gone, but he'll not put too much betting money on IU to beat them on the football field next year. Well, no, I don't know if anybody's saying that. It's not like they are going to be devoid of talent all of a sudden. And Sharon Moore is probably going to be the guy that ends up with the head coaching job there. He's the crier. Players are all familiar with and probably like that. A little different than the Alabama situation where you have a complete new staff coming in. And that's why you're going to see more transfers because of that. Just the relationships go away, and it makes a huge difference because with Sharon Moore, if he ends up being the guy and stays at Michigan, which likely, Mike Hart is probably going to be the assistant head coach. There's probably not going to be a lot of moves. The one thing I have not sent a tweet out about, and I've been wondering now, does Connor Stallions get a job with the LA Chargers? Wouldn't that be something? I'm pretty certain that Roger Goodell would go, veto, not happening. So where does poor Connor Stallions go now? I'm sure that some boosters taking good care of him. Yep, I am always looking out for snakes, man. Tana says his first visit to Florida, he stopped at a gas station outside of Gainesville, and the pond out back was fenced in because he owned gators. Nice pets. A little pet farm there. And stupid of me, last night before I went to sleep, there was something that popped up on my phone. It was videos, and it was about catching rattlesnakes. So I had that in my mind. Great. What a great day for me. But oh well. John, when's a good time for us to get to the sound?
I was trying to work on it right now, but I've been dealing with some email issues. So it may, I was hoping it would be this segment, but there's a chance it might not be. If not, let's plan on doing it towards the back end of hour number 2, depending on our guest situation. But that is the current plan, at least on my end of the situation.
Duly noted. Yesterday, some of the other questions that Mike Woodson was asked was talking about Xavier and the term we just talked about, the term he used, soul searching. And I'm reading the question here. Is that easier for an older guy? Is it more difficult? And by older, he's talking about Xavier. Is that easier for an older guy? Is it more difficult when maybe he wouldn't have necessarily obviously expected some of the obstacles he's had, obstacles, like I like to say obstacles instead, obstacles he has had this year and a half with these injuries? Is it easier because he's got more experience and maturity, or is it sometimes easier in some ways with a guy that's kept having to hit it and reset when maybe his thought, this is my last year? Man, this is my question that I just said. Must have been that ESP going on. Mike's answer to that was, even though he's been in the college game, when you haven't experienced injuries, because I went through that my senior year, it's deflating. It can mentally crushes you. And all I can think back to, you know what I went through to get back. You know, I was crushed because I mean, how the hell can something like this happen your last year and you don't even know if you're going to play again based off of what doctors are telling you, and you know, and all of that. But and I understand that. It's Xavier Johnson worked hard to get back, so it's not like he didn't want things to go well. I don't know what happened, where there was a disconnect for him this season, what exactly that has been, and you know, I'd like to say maybe some things are being made out to be bigger than they are, but I can't say that they are. I mean, the first flagrant is what it was. The second one is what it was. Yeah, I mean, there's no claiming that was accidental, and probably not wise. But well, I know it wasn't wise, but not wise to do it on the biggest guy on the court when he's coming down. But and then there's the one you wonder what's the mental thought of the rest of this team. What are the younger guys thinking? It would. Whew, this is a time you'd like to be a fly on the wall to wonder what the relationship really is right now inside of there. Okay, that's funny if that is true. Now, is this true? Michael says that Xavier Johnson is older than 9 of the guys on the Pacers roster. It's not that I doubt it, because I think was it a year or two ago that Northwestern was older than the entire Chicago Bulls team. Funny. Robert says Tom Allen may have sucked as a head coach, but he has good business acumen, made himself independently wealthy, and gifted Alabama with a coaching staff. Well, there's that. Yeah, I'd sure take that contract. We've got to take a quick break. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star will join us in our next hour, along with Stephen Bardo. After that, as we will be previewing tomorrow's Indiana-Illinois game. It is already known to be this is a game, as Bob Kravitz said earlier, it's just of monster importance, not only for the win, but to see fight. Is this team still fighting? And tomorrow's game will, if nothing else, it'll show that. Are they still fighting? Losing at Illinois is not a year ender. They're not expected to win, but they need to win. But how will they attack that game? Will there be any differences in the attack? Khalil Ware, his situation, yada yada yada. Oh, I mentioned the Bisque. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friend Cheryl Sizemore and Remax Realty. For those of you in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore, and her 2 decades of experience could be the difference between getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
It's quiet. Too quiet. Got about 40 seconds, Jim. Zach should be on shortly.
Was that to me?
Yeah, I just said we got now it's 30 seconds and Zach should be on shortly. Oh, speaking of which, there he is. Good morning, Zach.
Hey, I got to do this on my phone today, if that's all right.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Are you able to use your camera on the phone or no? If not, that's fine.
No. Like I'm about to get in the car to drive somewhere. So,
okay, sounds good. All right, 10 seconds, guys. Here we go.
0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday here in January. Welcome, Zach Osterman from the Indy Stars. Zach, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. How about you?
I cannot complain. Down in Montverde, Florida, watching the Invitational, and I'm wearing shorts and a T-shirt.
There you go.
So I am happy as can be.
There you go.
That's going to be short-lived.
Yeah, once you come back, it's positively tropical here. It's 41 degrees and raining.
Hey, I'll take that over 1 degree and raining. Of course, that wouldn't be happening, but Indiana, of course, on the road this weekend in Champaign with a virtually every game you could say this for as they finish the season, but a almost must win. I don't know if I put the must win, but really, really, really need to win. You can put that tag on this game. I was just talking before you joined us that, if nothing else, I think you're going to see, win or lose, is this team still fighting? Are they still fighting for the prize and trying to get there? And then you have, you've got Xavier. What is his mindset, knowing that, his final season is teetering on the brink here, and he worked very hard to get back, and then only to have yet another injury and to set that back. So there's a lot of things that are going on in the old cabeza for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not a must win, I think it's fair to say, I said this on our podcast, it feels like it's a must perform. I think, your point about just kind of needing maybe to show a certain something. They've had 8 days, after a couple of pretty chastening defeats. You recognize Purdue and Wisconsin were favorites in those games. But nevertheless, the way they played out, kind of told a certain story. And I think that, at minimum, it feels like the sort of game where Indiana, as you say, has to kind of show that it's still got the fire in the belly to make something out of the season. That doesn't mean necessarily that it will, but I think everybody needs to have had, kind of a conversation almost with themselves. And I think this comes down to, every individual player and then maybe some sort of collective, just kind of a, what do you want out of the rest of this season? Whether you're obviously the answer is going to be different for an Xavier Johnson, who's in his 6th and final year of college, one he didn't expect, from a Kalel Ware, who I think we can all understandably recognize is probably bound for the NBA draft after this season, to a captain like Trey Galloway, whoever it might be. This needed to be a week where Indiana kind of figured out, individually and collectively, what do we want out of this season and how hard are we willing to fight for it? And I think Saturday is going to be a real sort of stress test of that.
Yeah, and a big reason for that listed in your piece that you have out right now on I use talking points. They're soul searching, as Mike Woodson said in the presser yesterday. But it's not just that the games are getting less with 12 remaining. It's that big letter Q and the number 1 that is looming large over Indiana, because right next to that or under that is a big old fat goose egg. And the opportunities to get that are even slimmer than the remaining games that they have.
Yeah, I mean, yes, from just a practical sort of NCAA tournament standpoint, you've got to start somewhere. Indiana, I think, has got what? I think I don't know if you said it's 2 quad 2 wins. I think that's the best they've got right now. And there aren't a lot of quad 1 opportunities left, and that's a little bit the nature of the conference. It's a little bit the nature of the fact that it's January 26th or whatever it is. You don't. The seasons don't get to run on forever until everybody gets what they want. Indiana's got to find a way to start, putting together some of those wins. And listen, it's it's 2 completely different teams, 2 completely different seasons. The trip to Illinois last year was kind of a get right experience for Indiana. They'd lost the 3 in a row to restart Big Ten play. They beat a pretty pedestrian Wisconsin team at home. It was when they went on the road to Illinois, and I mean, they led that game by double digits for most of the game, certainly most of the second half, not all the second half. I'm struggling to remember the exact complexion of it, but that was kind of the game that it felt like, signaled kind of Indiana turning its season around. Or maybe not turning its season around might be strong, more just kind of like pointing its season in the direction that it eventually went in. This game kind of needs to be something similar. And again, I don't know if Indiana needs to win it, but I think Indiana at least needs to sort of get to a place where it is proving that it can compete with these teams, because it's going to have to beat some of them eventually. Or we know what will happen. We will all be home in March.
Absolutely. And from what we've seen so far, it's hard for us to imagine that happening, but it's not to say that it cannot happen. If it's a lot goes on in the mental psyche, whether this team can, whatever separation has been amongst them, and I don't mean personally, but come together as a team or not, that's going to show itself, and that's what's going to have to happen. And part of that, though, is also having Khalil Ware, and whether or not you have a healthy Khalil Ware also goes a long way on how this Indiana team goes.
Yeah, I mean, with this matchup in particular, it's kind of a funny one because, Mike Woodson has said, I think multiple times this week, Illinois plays small. They've gone small. I mean, you look at like Dane Danger barely plays for them now. I mean, he was a guy who was kind of a centerpiece for them in the post last year. Maybe not the way that Trace Jackson Davis was, but I mean, he was a regular for them. I think he had 1 minute against Northwestern. They do play a lot smaller. I mean, a lot smaller, and they spread you out. They try to shoot you out of the gym. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think you could see in the Northwestern game, for example, it probably didn't help their defensive effort, overall. But I think that, if I'm not saying Indiana shouldn't play Khalil Ware, I would say that in my experience, watching obviously a lot of college basketball, when teams go small and teams try to counter that by going big, going small usually works better. The team that goes small usually has more success with it. So it might be a funky one for Indiana's rotations anyway, I guess is my point. But the broader question of getting Khalil Ware back is, without a doubt going to be something really important for this team. I think he sets this team defensively in a lot of ways. I think Mike Woodson's bigs have always kind of done that. He's obviously this team's best rebounder. He's I would argue, one of this team's biggest matchup threats, because he can take slower, less athletic bigs out to the perimeter. He's the player that Indiana likes to use most in pick and roll situations. So just getting him back, I mean, he's fundamental to what Indiana wants to do at both ends of the floor, and getting him back is important.
And in Illinois, you have a team that was learning to play without Terrence Shannon Jr. and doing a decent job at it. Then they get Terrence Shannon Jr. back, and he scored 16 points in their last outing against Rutgers, but is whatever little bit of rust that he may have had will certainly be knocked off, and Indiana will be facing a full force Illinois team.
Yeah, and also not unlike Wisconsin facing an Illinois team that will be smarting from, an unexpected road upset. And I know it's a little bit different. Wisconsin obviously lost at Penn State, struggled defensively, whereas, Illinois Northwestern is always going to be a bit of a funky game. It's a rivalry game. Illinois has had a bit of a sticky time in Evanston, kind of as often as not the last few years. But the point is, you're not going to catch them cold. You're going to get an Illinois team who presumably will have been sharpened by the frustration of losing a rivalry game on the road. That if you look at kind of the complexion of that game, and Illinois probably should have won it, even if you just kind of look at maybe the last, where they were with 5 minutes to go, where they were with 2 minutes to go, etc. So, I mean, it's, I don't know if it's necessarily the proverbial good time to be playing Illinois, but, that's what Indiana's got in front of them, and that's the challenge they got to grapple with.
Absolutely. And coming out of this game, let's say they do come out of it with a loss. I mentioned the mental aspect of it, that they have to be fighting, because these guys read. They know what's what, and they know what the situation is and what's at stake. So if you go in and you do play hard and you give them a great game, but you still come up short, does that chip a little bit more away from these guys, or will they be able to maintain that and come back and do it again?
I just think Indiana's got to see itself play well again. I think you've just got to start there. It's been, the sense you had, if you think about that 3-game stretch of beating Ohio State at home, which obviously a bit of the shine has been taken off that win, but the Rutgers game wasn't pretty, but you can sort of tell yourself a certain story that Rutgers, going to Rutgers is rarely pretty, and they muck it up. And, obviously there was the flagrant 2, and just Indiana just didn't shoot the ball well. And then you come back and you play so well against Minnesota at home. So it felt like Indiana was kind of in a good moment heading into the Purdue game, and to just kind of get, bulldozed, frankly, over both of those games. I know the Wisconsin game's a little closer, but let's be fair. I think Indiana was down 23 points at one point in the second half. To just get kind of, wiped off the – I'm sorry, forgive me. Get kind of wiped off the floor in both of those games. I just think Indiana, sometimes the team, I think, just needs to see itself play well. And just needs that confidence back to feel that just sort of instinctive rhythm and that belief. And I think that, while it would probably be frustrating if you could offer Mike Woodson a credible 5-point loss right now, I'm not sure he'd turn you down, or I think he'd at least have a long think about it before he said no. Just because I think this team needs, just needs to find some of that confidence again.
And, there's a lot of talk about the 4-point loss to Kansas. And yeah, that would have solved a lot of, or some of the issues that we talk about, but that would not have fixed everything that we're talking about. If they had just won that game and that was the only change, we're probably having pretty similar, same conversation. Not quite, but pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because you never know how a win like that could color the direction of a season. And I think about Tom Crean's 13-14 season, which, had some similar. I think the team dynamics were different, but Indiana had lost a lot. They lost more players than they returned from the Big Ten title team. They had a lot of freshmen and sophomores. They played UConn in New York in November, and they lost. I mean, it was an ugly game. It was a terrible game from an aesthetic perspective. And it kind of just, neither team could make a shot. So it kind of just turned into Yogi Ferrell versus Shabazz Napier. And I think Yogi missed a 3 to win it, either win it or tie it. at the buzzer, near the buzzer. I mean, I remember coming out of that and feeling like, what will we think about this game from the complexion of both teams' seasons down the road? And I'm not saying if Indiana wins it, that season goes completely differently, but obviously UConn goes on to win a national title that year, and Indiana doesn't even make the NIT. Sometimes games like that can have that kind of significance. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes it's just a game. Now, if Indiana had won that Kansas game, then I think there would be less urgency to be talking about having to go to Wisconsin and win, or having to go to Illinois and win, or, the other side of the next homestand, having to go to Ohio State and win, because Indiana would at least have that signature sort of quad one victory to kind of hang at the top of its resume. And it would be about saying, okay, now you got to add to it. Now you got to, fill in the blanks and fill in the gaps. But there's a really solid win kind of at the top of the line there. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. This is just kind of where Indiana is at this point.
Yeah, I failed at the top of the segment, Zach, to welcome you in. Speaking as Zach, a playoff of that. I know that you're up on popular culture enough I should have welcomed you into Between Two Cacti. Instead of, I don't have ferns, I have two cacti. So I'm not sure if you can see or screen or not, but welcome into Between Two Cacti with Zach Osterman. But Zach, I appreciate you, my friend, and look forward to it again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Enjoy the warmer weather.
I appreciate you, sir. Zach Osterman, Indy Star. Make sure you're giving him a follow. Keep local papers alive. And we've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Stephen Bardo right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Formerly.
All right.
Just brought me breakfast. That's crazy.
Okay.
Look another angel home. All right, y'all help me now. Oh, mail that. Did you email?
I did, and I sent him a text. Your camera's acting foolish, by the way. Again, it's like
I see that. Hey, exactly. What are you doing? What are you looking at?
If for some reason he can't join or just doesn't show up, I do have the 2 sound bites you sent me timestamps for Liam McNeely and Derek Queen. So
get my ferns back in there. I mean, I'm sorry, cacti.
There you go.
My Between Two Cacti.
20 seconds, just 20 seconds. Like I know you just hopped up. That's why I said something.
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go.
Honda Ridgelines payment-free for 90 days, or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to andymorehonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville and Evansville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. I hope it is a good one for you, and I hope it's been a great week. And if it hasn't, the weekend is here as I try to destroy my glasses. So you'll get to enjoy that, hopefully. Indiana is out of town. So those of you that don't live in Bloomington but attend games won't have to travel to B-Town. Don't forget, tomorrow, Indiana plays at 3 p.m. That is Eastern time, right? Because they're playing in Champaign, which is not on Eastern time. Boy, I've got one of these new gimbal cameras, I guess you call it. And sometimes it follows me, sometimes it doesn't. Reminds me a lot of you, John. Just kidding. It's a joke.
I can see truth to that. Because sometimes you may be calling my name and I may be busy doing something else and I'm not following you.
Absolutely. Hey, I talked earlier about that kid I saw last night, Lucas Lima. From São Paulo, Brazil. First of all, not a lot of Brazilian stars that you hear at that level, and especially at a level like Montverde. You ask, how can someone that it can be that good just sits on the bench? Well, I said it, because you've got the starting lineup of the Boston Celtics in front of you. Literally. The 5 starters are going to Baylor, to LSU, to Georgia, Indiana, and Duke. It was the same way last year. It was the same way the year before. It's always that way. And Derek Queen's a big man. That's another thing. Caden Allen, a lot of minutes last night. He is the most recent offer for Indiana. The only thing that I was disappointed in, he's a guard, handled the ball a lot, was this was a blowout. I mean, this was a complete blowout. Like I said, they won by 214 points. And I know that when that happens, it's can get the discipline can, and I don't mean, I meant as far as focused on the game fundamentals, can give way. He seemed to not stay within that realm, you know, doing some goofy things, taking shots you shouldn't take, or trying to do things that you shouldn't try to do. Nothing bad. It's just that things that you would not do if the game situation were different. And my man Lucas Lima from Brazil, not him, baby. He was playing ball. He was just balling, busted his butt. If someone had asked me, if I didn't know and someone asked me where I thought he was from, just from watching him, I'm like, somewhere in Indiana, because that's what he reminded me of. He's 6'6". He busted his ass from start to stop. He shot from behind the arc. He had a couple of great moves that ended up in being a dunks. So he's got hops. I saw him block shots. He had 4 steals. He was doing everything. I mean, that's why it stood out. He was scoring. He was scoring from distance. He was scoring inside. He was handling the ball. He was not making mistakes. He was so active and stayed within the game. That's the purest definition of taking advantage of the opportunity when you get the opportunity. And my man did it. And that one was fun to watch. But Liam, he enjoyed that as well. His teammates seemed to really like him. John Boy, if you're ready with the sound, I assume that we go ahead and do that. Let's now, just in case
we can do that. Yeah.
Pardo, did you know that he's related to Bridget?
Is this another joke that I'm not getting?
Yeah, unfortunately. You do not.
That's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, that's how it goes a lot.
Yeah,
I
very uncultured.
Well, first of all, I know that I'm quite certain that I probably think that I'm funnier than I am. That goes without question. But you do give great credence to that. So there's that. But first up, Liam McNeely, and trying to remember, this is a good quote. He talks about getting to IU and his excitement, and it seemed genuine, amongst other things. Let's hear what Liam had to say after last night's game.
How much is that a load off of your shoulders to not have to answer those questions and deal with that?
Oh, it was a big stress reliever. As soon as I committed the next game, I played great. I just played so loose and I felt free.
Do you know any certain teammates that you would like to see come join you? Joking around now because somebody's in the room with us. That's the only reason I'm saying that, Derek. But moving to that next level, though, it's different. You're going to leave guys behind that you haven't played with. It's a whole new deal. It's a whole new game where the speed changes, everything changes. I know you have to be excited about that challenge, looking forward to that. What are you most looking forward to?
I'm just really looking forward to play for Indiana, put on those cream and crimson colors and just give my all for Indiana. I'm going to play as hard as I can every practice and every game.
And moving up to the Division I college level, I know you watch games every weekend like the rest of us do all the time. Just thinking about walking out onto the Assembly Hall floor, or whether it's Mackey Arena or wherever it might be, that's a cool factor there.
I mean, I went to Assembly Hall for a game. They played Kennesaw State, and none of the students were there because it was Christmas break, but it was still packed. It was jumping in there. I can't wait to play in there.
What was it about Indiana that really finally turned your attention and said, all right, this is where I'm going?
I would say Coach Woodson and Coach Walsh's and the whole staff's they just never wavered in their confidence in me. They kept recruiting me through the ups and downs and just always showed that they wanted me.
And do you watch the games and see where you may be able to be a part of that? Say, hey, there's where my game could add into here, and this is what I think I could help them with.
For sure. Indiana's struggling from the three-point line right now, and that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to helping the team out with.
The funniest thing of that whole clip, which most of you probably did not catch, you go back and listen to it. Listen to the answer right before he gives his answer on that last question, I think. I'm not going to give it away, but John, did you hear it?
I didn't catch it, no.
Okay. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but also got the opportunity to talk to Indiana Hope recruit Derek Queen, who has twice now put off his decision. That's one of the things I asked him about last night, but let's hear what he had to say.
Your recruiting is still open. I just asked Liam how much of a burden off of his shoulders it was to get that out of the way. How are you able to keep that separate right now and focus on the task at hand, playing your games, and with still having the recruiting going on?
I mean, so I understand the coach's job, how they're supposed to recruit me, and stuff, but they don't go all out because there's only 4 schools, and I only talk to 4 people and stuff like. But it's not a lot.
So is there a top 4? Is there a top 2?
A top 4.
Not a top 2 at all.
Mm-hmm.
So who's officially your top 4?
The 4 I posted on Instagram: Kansas, Houston, Maryland, Indiana.
Any idea when you're thinking you might make a decision now?
Not sure.
Any time frame at all?
No.
What has there been any reason of deciding not to do it now?
I'm just saying how the teams play, rosters and stuff.
So you watch how each of these programs are playing, and does that plays a role into your decision making?
Yes.
I gotta say real quick with you can tell, and we don't have the video portion of this on the screen, but watching his facial expressions as he's giving those responses, you can tell that he's been trained to handle these questions a certain way as to not reveal any information or I guess any thoughts that may give away anything that he may be actually considering. If you notice that, Jim.
Well, I noticed it because if you noticed, it was not for a lack of trying to get to that answer.
Now, I don't want to call him stubborn, but you could tell like he
No,
knew.
no, it's not. No, it's not stubborn. It's a decision has been made that a decision is not being made yet. So I respect that. I was just asking just basic questions. What went into it? Why? That 2 times after saying that, hey, this is when it's going to happen. There has to be. There's the reason. You don't you do something once, okay, but you do something twice, that's not coincidence. So that's why I asked that question. And if the 2 words that stood out to me, play and rosters. He's playing this as a big time recruit that it sounds like he wants to make sure that he is going to put himself in the absolute best possibility he can on his next step. And the first word, play. And that tells me that he's watching these teams play and who's succeeding, who's winning, who has a winning culture. He knows that, look, Kansas, Indiana, 2 of the greatest places that you could ever play, period, without question. Fan bases, support, tradition, yada, 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 could go on. So that's equal. But now you talk current day, and he's paying attention. And then the second one, rosters. That's important because guess who will be leaving? Now they're very different players. He is not a boy. I'm slowly getting there age-wise with the brand. Hunter Dickinson. He's not a Hunter Dickinson. He does not shoot from outside. Derek Queen. So he's a post guy. Rosters, will Kalel Ware be at Indiana next year? I don't think so, but I don't know that. That will absolutely make a difference for Indiana. I'm not sure on Kansas who that player might or may not be. It's not Hunter Dickinson. Maryland, I don't know that it's rosters as much as play. And their play has just done nothing but go on a slow but upward trajectory. Last year, I talked about they couldn't win on the road, but they won virtually every home game. Well, this year they've righted that ship some. They already have 2 nice road wins in conference at Illinois, where Indiana is going this weekend. One of those at Iowa just the other day. They're playing really well. And it's close to home. His mom goes to all the Maryland games. Houston lost 2 first-round draft picks to the NBA and another starter to the portal. But guess who's number 1 in KenPom? And that's another reason Indiana fans got to stop with we lost Trace Jackson Davis and Jalen Hood-Schifino. I don't care. There's something called the portal. was it a shock that you lost Trace Jackson Davis? No. And it should have been a shock halfway through the season that you were probably going to lose Jalen Hood-Schifino as his draft stock started to rise. Well, you have to be out in front of that. And, it's not for I'm not a D1 coach, and I don't pretend to be. I don't pretend to know more than I do, which is not much. But I do know common sense, and those things were seen, known. They were known voids that had to be filled and wasn't. So much so that Indiana still has an open scholarship. I'm not trying to jump on. I'm just laying out some basic facts here. But his words are measured. John, you're exactly right. His words are measured. But that's something I said the last time that I went down there and talking to these guys, especially Jalen, just even then stood out as doing things very professionally. And where they are at Montverde, that's because they do things that way. They know who's doing what. Their games are on NBA TV, people. I couldn't shoot any highlights. That's why I don't have any highlights, because we're not allowed to shoot video during this tournament because the NBA TV exercised their rights to block all that out. Fortunate to get the post-game interviews each night, and we'll talk about different things. And I did not see any new questions. So you guys are going to miss out on your opportunity. Give me some good questions that you would like to see answered, but legit questions, not goofy. And I'm not calling anybody goofy, but you know what I'm saying. Not goofy questions. Legit, man. Come up with you guys come up with good stuff all the time. Caden Allen. I did not get to speak with him last night. I will tonight and tomorrow. And like I said, he played a lot of minutes early on, not the second half. He was not in a second half mop-up situation. I was surprised the minutes that he played in the first half. I think he might have been the second guy off the bench, but played a lot of minutes at guard for Indiana. I didn't get to see enough of him because, like I said, in the second half, he played a lot, but he kind of went away from game focus, I guess you'd say. But we'll see tonight. But these games should get increasingly tougher for Montverde as they play again. And you can catch that on NBA TV. All of these games are being broadcast. And like the best thing for me yesterday was watching Lucas Lima play. I hope he gets another shot to play. I really do. He was just fun to watch. And it's rare that someone like that comes off the bench can stick out like that. But he did. He just did. And it was fun to watch. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio to wrap up your week and send you off into the weekend. We'll be back with that and more, brought to you by our good friends at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
I do believe Casey Bartley's going to join us here, but he has not responded either. So we'll see if he hops on.
Well, these dirty, rotten bastards.
Real quick with Steven Bardo, did you make sure you told him 9:50 Eastern time?
I believe I did.
Okay. Because I thought about that. I'm like, there's a chance that he's in a different time zone and might.
Well,
have
even
wrong.
then, there's a very good chance that he just forgot the time.
Yeah,
that stuff
busy
happened.
man.
Because I should have sent a text last night as a reminder, because I think I asked him almost not quite a week ago, but
yeah,
when it's that far out, it's not. I should not leave it up to guests to remember that.
Yeah.
So look at me taking responsibility. What a grown up! What a grown up I've become. Where's Fred? Where did Fred ask? All right, Fred, I got to go back. Will there be a post game? Yes. Yes. Marv Albert. Got ball from the 3-point line. Yes. That's a pretty simple signature.
Yeah.
You know, we had boom baby, which that's my favorite of all time. But Marv Albert, yes. Man, I couldn't get over there in time yesterday for the game that was 2 games before game 2. I didn't want to go there that early, but it was a rocker. Went to overtime. You know who played yesterday? I don't know for certain who won. I'll have to look it up. Oak Ridge High School.
Mm-hmm.
They did have the boys with them.
Oh, nice.
Versus the Rock School.
Is that what it's called?
Yes, the Rock School. Now, I don't know if I would either have a logo as a electric guitarist, or the band would be a rock band. No, none of the typical band. It would be a rock band. And
Here
then
back again. Maybe Casey's not going to join us today either, so we'll see.
Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hola, greetings. Thank you for joining us on this Friday. Grateful as always. Big thanks to Mr. Sam Joaquim, for I don't want to forget that. An IU grad that has always been incredibly nice when I've been down here. Trying to think of got too much stuff in my head. The Claremont Dental office down here. So anybody that happens to live in the area, did you see that move I got? There you go. If you happen to live in the Claremont, Florida area, go see our guy, Dr. Sam Joaquim. You know, he's an IU guy, and he'll treat you right. But he's got a son that goes to Montverde. Luke the Drifter, Cool Hand Luke. Neither of those do you know either, John, do you? I'm not picking on you. It's just coming. It's just too easy.
Yeah, that one's a no-go for me.
Well, the first one, I know that. But the second one, you're missing out.
Maybe I should start making references for my generation and see if you get those.
Not bad. You know what? That's not a bad. That could be a challenge. I did see, because I remember probably a year ago, because I tweeted this out for the first time in the history of my life, and I watched Saturday Night Live as a kid in the 70s, but I still watch it. But it was like a year ago. I was like, for the first time in the history of my life, I do not know who the host or musical guests are.
Wow. Do you remember who they were? I'm curious.
I do not. I didn't know them then, and I still don't remember. But it happened again this past week. It's the flavor of the month is the deal. That's what happens. And I've got a lot more things to do in life nowadays than to be able to stay up with all the different flavors. It's like Baskin Robbins. There's just too many options there. What was I even talking about? As we chat between two cacti. Welcome back to Between Two Cacti with Jim today. I'm holding them in my hands almost. I could almost do that. Oh, there we go. John, I got that one in my hand, and now I got that one in my hand. How's that? Can you see it? You're not with.
It's very picturesque.
I've got the whole world in my hands. Boy, do you know that song?
I do know that one.
Well, man,
I feel like most people
I
know
bet
that
money.
one.
Well, as do I, but I don't always put you in the category of most people. Nothing. Hey, last night was very cool. I'm staying in an Airbnb, which again, the greatest place that I have ever freaking stayed. And it's not because it's $1 million hotel. It's not. It's a place out in a very quiet neighborhood that's just a lot of cool stuff. Shane, along with his wife Vivian, but he's got different trees, and he's got an orange tree. And then last night he pulled an orange right off the tree, and I ate that thing last night. I had orange juice all over my face, hands, but that was the first time ever I've had an orange right off of a tree. Have you ever had an orange right off of a tree?
You felt like a true Floridian, I'm sure.
Well, it's not that. It's just cool. I just never have. And do pineapples grow in the ground, on the ground, or in trees?
I feel like I've heard of a pineapple tree, but I don't know if they actually do grow on them.
Well, I didn't ask you if that's what you heard.
I feel like they grow in the ground. Do they go on the ground?
In or on?
Or whatever you said. You asked me the choices. The one about
I
the ground.
said, do they grow in ground, on ground, or in trees?
In ground.
No.
No? Oh, man.
I thought you were going to get that. I
So
would
on
not
the
have
ground?
gotten it. Yes. Again, showing my ignorance, but I'm never afraid of that. I did not know that pineapples grew on the ground from plants. I thought they did grow in trees. So I learned something last night because he's got
there's your education for the day.
pineapple bushes. Pineapple, guacamole, or not guacamole. Ha! Avocado. That sounds good. That's something that I did not used to like, and boy, I can eat tons of that. The truth joins. Robert is down in southwestern Indiana. Julian Reese at Maryland is a junior, so likely back. Philip pointing out, so there's a roster notification. But Maryland is a team we're talking about. Derek Queen and his recruiting options. Maryland is one team out of the three that doesn't have to meet all of those standards. They don't. He's going to find a place to play. I don't care if they've got somebody there or not, but he will be less likely to take that risk, I think, at Kansas, at Houston, or at Indiana. Say if Kalel Ware were back, which that's not going to happen. But if Kalel Ware were coming back, no Derek Queen for certain. But yeah, Maryland, because it's a home school, they get a little, they get leeway. Howie says that Trace Jackson Davis did not play last night for the Warriors, and post-game Warriors Twitter was not happy. Well, that's good to see for him. I think that, he's a guy that is, again, it's busted his ass. He's gotten to where he is because he worked to get there. And fans see that. That's palpable. That carries. Just like I talked about Lucas Lima, the Brazilian wonder from last night who didn't play in the first half and scores 22 points in the second, or 21 points in the second half to become the game's leading scorer. You can just see it. And like I saw, he just grabbed my attention. I'm like, and then you start watching and it just keeps doing things. But that stands out. And I think that the Warrior fans have seen him play, seen him hustle, see him work, and see the production that he has provided, and they like it. Hey, Mikey, he likes it. There's my take on that. Brian says, I can't move it too quick, and I lost it. Nope. Yep, up and down too fast. Brian says he thinks Ware will declare, and then maybe Indiana gets Queen because his starting spot opens up. Well, on paper, yes, but I don't think that Kel'el Ware going is just him going is going to be the deciding factor. It is a factor. I mean, we have already laid that out, but there are other factors that play into that. I don't think that there's any question that Kel'el Ware will be gone next year. And it's not because he is setting records and is going to be the player of the year. You don't have to be. If you're getting a first-round contract, it's bye-bye birdsong. They're going to make enough money in 4 years to live comfortably if they have common sense. And so you're not going to turn that down. There ain't nobody getting that kind of NIL money at Indiana for certain. But now you want a conundrum. Didn't think you were going to hear that word today, John, did you? You want to think about a conundrum. Think about if Kel'el Ware did stay. Mackenzie Mbako was there. Liam McNeely joins them. Gabe Cups. I mention those names because NIL money. When guys don't leave, oh boy, your payments just grew substantially because the top guys are getting top money. And if you end up bringing extra in, which it's supposed to be a wash because having that talent should produce success. With success comes more made money, comes happier fans. More happy fans buy more stuff. They buy more merchandise, et cetera, et cetera. So, as the world turns, what have we learned today, John?
We learned that pineapples grow on the ground. We've learned that you can reference between two, what is it? Between two ferns?
Between two cacti.
Between two cacti.
Yes.
Which was a playoff of Between Two Ferns, which, again, before the show, I didn't know that was a thing. But, I've learned a lot today.
Are you going to YouTube that?
There's a chance I might.
I've
learned a lot from your adventures down in Montverde.
That's like that bicycle movie. There's a chance.
That's right, the bicycle movie.
So you're saying there's a chance. You have to. You have to get reference on it because it's pretty damn funny. Mike Shenanigans says Queen is more of a Big Ten player. Yeah, I agree with that. He's a bruiser, man. He's a big body bruiser that does not have a perimeter game, doesn't seem to be interested in a perimeter game. I shouldn't say that. I don't know what's in his mind, but that is not an area that he flirts with. He's down in the guts. And he's a big boy. He's a big boy now. He's not a Chet Holmgren where you got to send him to the grocery store every morning. But they'll turn some of that into even more muscle. Brian pointing out back-to-back NBA players for Montverde will have that effect. Robert asking, what are the names you've been hearing about the 2024 class? Liam McNeely. Stop. As in, period. That's the name. Derek Queen. Indiana that's another thing about Indiana. I've said this before. I'm not the only one. They have tended to put their eggs all in one basket. And they go courting. They show up to the player's door with this one big basket of all their eggs in it. And when they get turned away, and now you got to quickly unwrap that basket and then wrap it with a different deal and rush over to the other guy's door. And they're like, what am I, chopped liver? So I don't know why Indiana has not been able to get away from that and get around that. But from my standpoint, it has been kind of a all in on guys, and they're not, for the 24 class, let's just say they're thin as of right now, but they're going to have to hit the portal again. Like we talked about earlier with Bob Kravitz, they have to hit the portal. They have to have experienced guards next year. Is Trey Galloway going to be back for another year? Even if he is, he's a complimentary player. He's not a starter at the level that you guys as fans want your team to be. I don't mean that as a slight. Is he Dalton Connect? Well, that's what you need. You need that kind of firepower. Mix that in with guys like Kalel Ware or Malik Renew, who will be back unless he were to transfer, because I do not know of him being on any mock draft boards. And Baco, question mark there. But you do have Liam McNeely coming in to, quote unquote, fill that spot if that is the situation. But then now you've got another freshman coming in. Not saying he can't handle it or he'll be different, but again, experience. Again. Oh, man. Got me saying that now. Let's see. Any other? Appreciate you, Robert. Anytime you like it. If you like it, I like it. Great having you on. Brian says he suspects IU has more NIL money. Well, that's a dangerous thing to do for Queen compared to Maryland or Houston. I would suspect you're wrong. Why would you think that? Who is landing better recruits, Indiana or Houston? Crickets. These top recruits are not going there for lunch money. Maryland they can throw all of their NIL money at him. So very, very different. Hey, man, I can't thank everybody enough as always. Big thanks to Robert Kravitz. Make sure you go to bobkravitz.com. Stay up to date with all that he's got going. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star. John, the producer, thanks for keeping us between the white lines. A gigantic thank you to each and every one of you guys. Another fun week. Look for coverage of the Montverde Invitational this weekend.
And after the game with Todd Leary tomorrow, correct?
Yep, let's get into that next. Tomorrow, after the basketball game, I'm probably going to be ending up doing that one from Montverde Academy in some quiet space someplace, because I will be over there watching games already. But yes, don't forget, after the game with Todd Leary, brought to you by our good friends at Hoosier Hanks East. Looking forward to doing it again. Until tomorrow, I am Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.